It's one of the biggest problems facing our cash-strapped state, pensions and the push to reform them. Critics complain cushy retirement benefits have some retirees making more than they did while still working.
But a 17 News investigation found a handful of county cases where retirees are drawing big payments even after losing their jobs after they were convicted of a crime. In more than one case, the retiree is collecting checks while still in prison. Kiyoshi Tomono with the 17 News in-depth investigation.
We're talking about former detentions deputies convicted of having sex with inmates and another jailer convicted of beating an inmate to death. Today they received tens of thousands of dollars of taxpayer money through retirement.
He was almost not recognizable.
This is how inmate James Moore looked minutes before his death. The cell phone pic snapped by one of the jailers convicted in his brutal beating. The county settled for $6 million with Moore's family, and it cost detention deputy Daniel Lindini 2 years of his freedom. But what it didn't cost was Lindini's $44,000 pension.
He got convicted of that crime that cost the state millions of dollars, and now we're still paying him.
Lindini told us in a phone interview he's due the money. What a joke, he told me. I spent 26 years in the department and never had a single problem before this. You can't take something that a person has earned. Whether they get in trouble is irrelevant.
It's not like he made one mistake, one little, oh, I filed a report wrong. He killed him. That's huge.
Lindini denied he put his forearm across Moore's neck or did anything else that contributed to his death, but he said even if someone did make one mistake, you shouldn't be able to take their entire pension from them. You're taking away a man's means to support his family simply because of one incident.
Isn't that what he did to my brother's kids?
Lindini retired in March 2006, 7 months after Moore's death. Sheriff Donnie Youngblood couldn't talk about Lindini's employment in specific because he wasn't sheriff then, but he said in general his department must send an official letter if it intends to terminate or discipline an employee, and that employee then has 5 days to respond, including retiring, before any action is taken. But Lindini isn't the only one still collecting a pension following misdeeds on the job.
No, there's no law that precludes someone incarcerated from receiving their benefit.
Margarita Young was convicted of having sex with this tattooed inmate in a broom closet and bathroom at Laredo Jail. She receives almost $36,000 in pension each year and has declined repeated past requests for an interview. Sheriff Sergeant Michael Allen Lackey lost his job after molesting 3 young girls. He retired 5 months before he was sentenced in 2005. Records show he receives almost $44,000 a year. And then there's the infamous case of Chris Hillis, who won a $45,000 stress retirement shortly before being convicted of killing Deputy District Attorney Stephen Towser over Towser's unusually close involvement with Hillis's drug-addicted son. Hillis still sits in Avenal State Prison.
It's handled no differently than any other retiree. That individual has a direct deposit of their retirement benefit into a bank account.
Josie Chapman thinks it just isn't right.
I think the law should be changed. I think there are certain acts that you can do on a job that should restrict you from getting your pension. Killing somebody on the job should restrict you from getting your pension.
Our story doesn't end there. What happens when retirees owe tens of thousands of dollars to the state? We found out even those pensions can't be touched. We'll have that story coming up on Wednesday night. In the newsroom, Kiyoshi Tomono, 17 News.
Tonight we have another 17 News in-depth investigation into a state law that makes government pensions nearly untouchable. We found out our former public health director owes California close to $160,000, and there's little the state can do to collect as our county continues to hand him a hefty retirement.
Dr. B.A. Janadu ran our public health department for nearly 2 decades. His retirement in 2007 turned turbulent when the state revealed it had settled claims 3 clinics the doctor operated overbilled Medi-Cal more than $500,000. Dr. Janadu eventually settled. Hi.
Hi.
We're here to see if we can talk to Dr. Janadu. I'm Kiyoshi with Channel 17 from Bakersfield. When he didn't return our calls, our journey to catch up with the doctor took us to San Diego.
He's going to be here later on this afternoon.
Okay. Janadu still owes the state $159,000 as part of that Medi-Cal settlement. He's working at this chiropractic clinic. We wanted to know why Janadu hasn't paid the state but still collects his $84,000 pension each year. His chiropractic colleague told us.
Yeah, he had an associate that screwed him.
Okay. Chiropractor Eric Rosenberg didn't want to be interviewed on camera but told me Dr. Janadu must be just scraping by with the little money he makes from giving shots and seeing the occasional patient. So we went to this Chula Vista home Janadu bought in June 2007 for just over $1 million. Janadu wasn't there either, and his wife said he was out of town. Is there a way of calling him? Do you have a phone number for him?
Well, you called his office, didn't you?
We did, and we left a message.
I'm sure he'll get back to you.
But he did not.
You know, the department is in good hands.
The state also has been chasing after Janadu, putting a lien against his tax return last year. But his pension is protected.
And this isn't, I'm sure, the only case that's out there.
Current taxpayers Mike Turnipseed thinks the couple $1,000s the state collected is a drop in the bucket compared to Janadu's outstanding bill. Turnipseed likens pensions to a protected class.
You know, they're good for your life, and there's nothing else anything like being an employee, a public employee in California, and being on retirement.
And he blames legislators who voted the protections in, but also the public for not speaking up.
We only can blame ourselves because we elect our representatives to represent us.
We wanted to talk with the Department of Health Care Services about the state's frustration in collecting what's owed, but spokesman Tony Cava declined. The department provided us with the amount Janadu still owes and then told us, quote, "We have already provided all of the information we have on this issue. We appreciate your request, but we respectfully decline an on-camera interview." Janadu was never convicted of a crime. The way the law stands now, pensions are protected unless you skip out on alimony or child support.
That's true. That's how it works, you know, that the benefits are not subject to liens or levies.
And that has Turnipseed thinking the system is simply unfair.
If they can't collect on it, you can go broke, and the bank gets stuck, and everybody else pays for it.
And our story continues when we take a look at the people who keep the public safe here in our county. Our analysis shows more than 30% of firefighters and about 40% of sworn deputies retire through disability. Is it because so many are getting injured on the job, or as some critics suggest, is it the lucrative tax break that comes with retiring through disability? We'll take a look at that coming up new on Friday.
New at 5:30, disability pensions are supposed to be a safety net for those who risk their lives to protect the public. It's a kind of reassurance to firefighters who run into burning buildings or deputies who wrestle with bad guys that they won't go into bankruptcy if they're injured on the job.
But a 17 News analysis finds a disproportionate number of county firefighters and deputies are taking these disability pensions. And it might be because a large percentage of their pension money becomes tax-free for life. 17's Kiyoshi Tomono has another in-depth investigation tonight.
33% of firefighters in Kern County retire through disability. For deputies, it's about 40%. That's far greater than other county departments. Those who work in public safety say it's physically demanding and often dangerous work, but critics suggest some deputies and firefighters are fleecing the system.
It is a respectful profession.
5 years before he became Shafter's chief of police, Charlie Fivecoat told the county retirement board he was so badly injured or stressed he could no longer serve as a sheriff's commander. That's important because the on-the-job disability, he claimed, means half of his $81,000 sheriff's retirement comes from income exempt from taxes.
We do have a very dangerous job, and I don't want to minimize the job that the men and women of this department do.
Sheriff Donnie Youngblood wouldn't talk about Fivecoat in specific, but he thinks others are just scamming the system when nearly 40% of sworn deputies retire from the department claiming they were disabled on or off the job.
I find that appalling. I think that that number is, there's something wrong with that.
He points to Deputy T.J. Moore, who was shot in the face responding to a domestic disturbance.
I don't think there's any person on this planet that doesn't believe that T.J. Moore should have gotten workers' comp, and he should have gotten a medical retirement. But guess where T.J. Moore's at today? He's working for this department because he chooses to.
The sheriff's disability pension isn't the only money Fivecoat receives. Even though he said he was too sick to work for the county, Fivecoat later spent 5 years as the chief of police in Shafter. That's the minimum amount of time required for him to also receive a pension from that job. Combined with a few years he spent on the Taft police force, and the state pension system now pays Five Coat another $13,000 for his former work in Taft and Shafter. His disability notwithstanding, Five Coat is still working, now at Occidental Petroleum as a security consultant. He declined to be interviewed for our story, and the retirement board, citing privacy laws, declined to reveal how he was injured.
It would seem to me someone, somewhere, would have asked the question, how can you have a disability from the Kern County Sheriff's Department and then go right into law enforcement again?
Kern Taxpayer Association's Mike Turnipseed sits on the retirement board that makes those decisions.
I mean, what do you say? The state created that. That's a benevolent thing to do.
You know, it's the rules, working within the rules. And as I mentioned earlier, these are physically demanding jobs.
The union that covers local deputies, Kern Law Enforcement Association, declined an interview for this story. The Kern County Detention Officers Association did not respond to a similar request. But deputies are not alone. 33.5% of firefighters retire disabled. Compare that to Kern Medical Center, where only 11.7% of retirees receive a disability pension. In the Department of Human Services, it's even lower, 5.2%. Critics say there's no easy fix, but until the public has better access to disability pension files, until they know what kind of injuries are being claimed, questions will linger.
It puts us in a bad position that makes us form some opinions on a lot of cases that we really don't know a lot about.